Hey guys, welcome to another episode of my channel. My name is Tuscany, and today I'm going to show you how I made these fire starter gift jars. So grab a cup of tea, get outside, and let's get started. So growing up here in the Pacific Northwest, I've become very fond of being outdoors, going for hikes, and going camping. I also love having a campfire. I love cooking on campfires, I love being around a campfire, I love watching campfires. I like fire. Anyway, I've recently started making a couple different kinds of fire starters just to make the fire starting process a little bit easier. I make them for my family and also for my Etsy page, so if you're interested in that, you can check that out in the description box below. But with those fire starters, I also wanted to make something that I could give as a gift that was both cute and useful. So I started making these fire starter gift jars, and they're great because you can just keep them with your camping stuff. It's often the case that when I go camping, a lot of the kindling around me is wet or damp, and I can't use it to start a fire. So this jar is awesome because I can just keep it there, and then I have extra kindling if I have none around me at the time. These are also great for in-house fireplaces, and because they're so decorative, you can basically just set them on your mantle and they'll look great in all decor. So let's start with how I made these fire starters. Alright, these fire starters are super easy to make, and they only need 3 materials, which are matches, cotton string, and wax. The first thing we want to do is get 7 matches. Then we're going to take the 7 matches and make them into a little bundle, which looks like a little flower pattern. Do be careful when you're doing this just to have them not rub together too much. I've never set them on fire, but definitely something that you want to avoid. Alright, from there we're going to not cut the twine yet, but we're just going to get a little bit and get a tail going for the wick. And how we're going to do that is we're going to make it a little bit longer than we actually want the wick to be. And you're going to just kind of wiggle that twine in between 2 pieces. Then you're going to wiggle it again between 2 more pieces. And then through back to the beginning. And all this does is it makes sure that the twine is really secure in the bundle, all while holding the bundle tightly with your fingers below. Then you just want to give it a small tug so that the wick is facing this way, out of your bundle rather than out this way. So next, we're going to get this side of the twine, and we're going to just start wrapping it around. And make sure that the twine wraps really closely to itself. And after you've done a couple, you can just kind of pinch them together. And keep going. Once we're this far, we're going to flip it. Make sure you pinch it really tightly with your thumb. And then you're going to twist and pull the twine while you continue to wrap it around. And continue to keep pushing the twine close to itself as you go. We want the twine to be super tightly wound because it's going to take a lot of the air out of the fire starter. And you don't want a whole lot of oxygen in there because you want it to burn slower. I'm going to take the twine right up to the end. And when you start running out of matches, you're going to take your scissors, cut off a little tail, and then you're just going to dip that tail into the wax that is preheated and smooth it into the rest of the twine. And give it a second to cool and harden. Once that tail is stuck and the wax is dried, then we can go ahead and dip the whole thing into the wax. And I just do a quick flip over. If the tail comes undone, that's totally fine. It's just because it remelted. So just take that tail and rewrap it around and it will stick to itself. So I have this thing right here that I just got in the mail, just like typical junk mail, but it's glossy. So I like to use this and then I can put the wax on it and it will just pop off when it dries. We're gonna let that cool for a minute and let it completely harden, and then we're going to put another layer of wax onto it. So I went ahead and made a few others while the first one was drying. But now that that one's dry, we can pick it back up and dunk it again. And this time we want to dunk at least 2 inches of the wick. And we just want to keep swirling it around for a minute just to make sure all the nooks and crannies are filled with wax. Once that's good to go, we set it up to dry again. Once these are all solidly dry, then we can pick them up, clean off the bottoms, and trim the wick to about 2 inches, or however long you think you might need it. And there you have it, some super easy, very quick fire starters that can burn for up to 10 minutes. Since I sell them, I like to put them in these cute little bags that I made from some extra cloth that I had running around the house. And there you have it. This is what is going to go into the fire starter gift jar. To start the jar, we're going to need to gather all our materials, which will be some dried plants and dried lichen, cinnamon sticks if you'd like, a small pack of matches, your fire starters, a hole punch, scissors, paper, and your jar. I also have some stamping stuff here, but it's not necessary. I like to use cinnamon sticks in mine because I think it adds a nice scent when burned, but you don't have to. And I'm just going to start by getting everything that's going into the jar arranged nicely in there, which may take some trial and error, but do try to avoid taking plants in and out of the jar constantly because they're going to continue to break and they're not going to burn as well. Well, they're going to burn too fast, and then that's not helpful. I like to use dried lichen in mine because I think it burns really well, but also remember to use things that burn a little bit slower, because if everything burns too fast, then your firewood isn't going to catch. Once everything is in the jar, including the dried plants, your fire starters, and the cinnamon stick, if you wish, then we're going to move on to the decorative outside of the jar. I'm using some of this beautiful handmade paper that I got from a local store here in Portland. I cut it into a rectangle that will be able to wrap around the jar and then rip the edges so that it gives it a bit more of a rustic look. I also use twine and wrap the twine around a few times to have that rustic look as well. Next, it's time to start on the tag. I first cut a rectangle of cardstock, and then I cut the corners of the top part so that it gives it more of a tag look. I then go ahead and round all the corners so that it's not as harsh around the edges. For this tag, I'm using my Happy Holidays stamp. If you have good handwriting, then go ahead and handwrite it. However, I don't, so I prefer to use the stamp. The next step is to put a hole in the top of the tag. And I use this fancy hole punch plus eyelet punch because I want to put an eyelet at the top. I think it adds a nice elegant look and it makes the whole of the tag a little sturdier. However, if you do not have any eyelets or an eyelet punch, that's perfectly fine. You just need a hole up there so you can wrap the twine through it. Once the tag is ready to go, we also want to punch a hole into the small pack of matches so that the tag and the pack of matches can be tied together on the twine. I'm also adding a small feather that I collected in behind the twine. If you're interested in adding feathers, then do be careful when you collect them. Make sure to wash the feather and your hands thoroughly before touching anything. The last step is totally optional. I put on this clear gloss on top of the letters on the tag just to make it pop out a bit, but it's not necessary. I honestly prefer gifts that are useful and handmade, so I really try to do that for other people in my life. So I really do enjoy doing this project, and honestly, who doesn't love a good fire over the holidays? So give it a try and let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you are interested or just don't have the materials to make the fire starters yourself, then I do sell them in my Etsy page, so make sure to check that out in the description box below. If you like this video, then make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you're interested in more, then please subscribe. Stay warm and have a happy November, and I'll see y'all next time.